Welcome to another episode of Right. My name is Farrell D. Moore, and I'm your host for this episode titled The Lessons of Hemingway's Chair. Now, hockey players have lucky socks. Why can't writers be gifted by the grace of touching those things that the masters of literature were near when they lit up the world with their prose? Can something of their magic pass to us? Of course, the easy answer is no, but it's not true. Some of their magic can be shared with us. The power of mentors is a wonderful, powerful tool for writers. And when it is combined with the power of emotion, rich visualizations, and ritual, it can work wonders to improve a writer's work. You'll need some talent, of course, and a level of competence to work with, but if you have those basic elements and are looking to move to the next level of writing, then you'll want to consider the two lessons of Hemingway's Chair. A craftsmanship is three doors down the hall to your right. It's in a different department. The classroom I'm going to introduce you to is the Department of Writing Magic. Now, who is your favorite writer? And who is the writer you most desire to match and exceed? Whose writing do you relentlessly read and study, memorize and analyze? Or perhaps you're too busy watching YouTube or television or playing video games. But if you want to write, read and study, read and analyze, read and dissect, read and assemble, read and create something of your own new and fresh using the new voice and new ideas you acquired by studying one writer beyond all others. Choose a mentor. Do you read everyone and lionize no one? It's important to cast a wide net, but eventually you must choose a fish to eat. My current mentor, yes, you can have more than one, but only one at a time, is James Lee Burke. Who is he? Glad you asked. He's a mystery writer whose descriptive dialogue and plotting powers simply astonish me. Mr. Burke is the author of an ongoing series starring a character named Detective Dave Robichaux. Since he is my mentor, I acquire and read all of his books. I have first editions of many of them signed by him. I know the day he was born, his taste in food, where he went to university. Yes, it does sound a lot like I'm a fan, doesn't it? Or maybe a stalker, but there's a crucial difference. I study James Lee Burke and his works so they can match and exceed them someday. To do that, I want to know this man and his works like he is my next-door neighbor. You're asking me why, sooner or later I hope. Let's get down to it, since it's lesson one in Hemingway's Chair. We study writing mentors for the same reason that Norwegian Roald Amundsen studied the life and actions of Admiral Robert Peary, who was the first man to the North Pole. Why did he do that? In the early 1900s, a young woman's failed marriage to an ex-football player and bootlegger caused her to seek a job at a local newspaper. She chose to make her editor, John R. Marsh, her mentor to learn the art of commercial writing. Aside from learning her job, what did she get out of it? Now, the first man you might or might not recognize, he was the one who studied the life and actions of Admiral Peary. What did he get out of it? He drew motivation, focus, encouragement, knowledge, and methodology from his studies. He learned to think and act like a famous polar discoverer by focusing on the life of the man who discovered the North Pole. Amundsen went on to become the first man to discover the South Pole. The young woman, who was by all accounts rather impetuous and headstrong, yet apprenticed to a mentor at the newspaper. I believe it was the Atlanta Journal, and did quite well. But how well? Have you ever heard of her? Her name was Margaret Mitchell, and she went on to win the Pulitzer Prize for her novel, Gone with the Wind. Mrs. Mitchell actually identified and bonded so tightly to Marsh that they later married, and as her skill grew, she in turn mentored him. Paying attention to someone else's methods, struggles, successes, mistakes, and triumphs gives us the power of focus. It also takes our mind off ourselves and our self-perceived limitations. We're not dreaming of writing successful novels and becoming rich. No, not at all. We're just studying someone else's path to success. But that study, that devotion and dedication, will transform us as writers. Hunter Thompson, author of Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, used to manually copy the works of Charles Dickens to learn the master's stylistic elements. It didn't clone Dickens. The continued act instead empowered Thompson to go on to create his own style of writing. I'm presenting a model that actually works. It's a technique. It's not a philosophy. Try it. Let me know how it works. Next time, we'll merge this technique with a little magic. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. excerpted from Shakespeare's As You Like It, circa 1600. In beggar's rags, most men are beggars. In kingly robes, most men could be kings. That was excerpted from Bunker Bean, the 1912 novel by Harry Leon Wilson. Now, at one time or another in their life, everyone wants to dress up and act like they're someone else. Why is that, and what does it do for us? The answer is at the heart of the second lesson of Hemingway's Chair. But first, do you remember Diana Prince? Why not? She was a wonderful person and a very pretty woman in a downplayed, mousy sort of way. But everyone remembers her alter ego, Wonder Woman. Bruce Wayne had his Batman suit. In Batman fiction, Wayne was a famous and wealthy man about town. However, nowadays no one remembers who he was unless he's mentioned in context with the world-famous Batman. Clark Kent had his Man of Steel outfit. Hard to miss a man flying by wearing the red, white, and blue. He might have had a harder time getting started these days than when Jerry Siegel conceived him. Where would the poor superhero change into his action suit? In these days of smartphones, phone booths are not as plentiful as they once were. But I'm asking you as an adult to consider the idea that people empower themselves to do greater things when they internalize a secret identity because they don't trust that they themselves are able to achieve their desires. How many children have hidden behind a superhero mask and suit to build their identification with their heroes and heroines? Why do they do that? Does it help them? The answer is a resounding yes. How we think of ourselves has a great deal to do with what we become. Harry Leon Wilson's 1912 story of Bunker Bean is quite famous in New Age circles for its illustration of this point. It reveals the second lesson of Hemingway's Chair, that there is magical power in focused imagination coupled with ritual. This is particularly true when the chosen ritual is a secret identity ritual. This magical ritual power can be used to transform our self-image, which in turn can transform ourselves and our writing. Now, are you interested enough in elevating your writing to bear with me through a few paragraphs that will give the background of this ritual? Here are the two reasons I think that it's important that you do. First, you will gain the sense that this particular technique is successfully used in other arts. And second, you will have a tighter focus on what the key elements of the ritual of the secret identity are. If you're one with me on this, or at least have an open mind, keep listening, because then we will get right back to creating your secret identity. It is a well-known fact that a powerful methodology for putting the power of imagination to work is the use of ritual. In the high art of alchemy, as in the high art of writing, we first deal with attention and intention. Attention and intention are the necessary prerequisites to the successful integration of imagination and ritual. However, when it is finally achieved, we can achieve wonders. You see, alchemists believe that our state of mind and involvement in our work can change the results from everything to our attitudes to chemical reactions. Alchemy, you can see, is the art of transformation. Writing, too, is an art of transformation, an art of creating form and beauty, structure and emotion, character and impact from the chaos and void of our experiences and intuition. In the art of alchemy, we labor to create the philosopher's stone. In the art of writing, we create a compelling story. Would you like to transform yourself into a better writer? Then you and I will take our first clue from alchemist William Dennis Hoke, my instructor in the art, who among many other things taught me the alchemical method called putting on the laboratory coat. It combines the elements of attention, intention, imagination, and ritual, which are the four elements necessary, not only to alchemy, but to the methodology of writing, called Hemingway's Chair. As a part of the ritual, the details of which are not for me to publish, but he turns out the visualization of putting on a lab coat into a meditative exercise that prepares the alchemist to interact with reality on more levels than the physical. Perhaps you think it's kindred exercise, the second lesson of Hemingway's Chair, is grim and requires all the trappings of a Wiccan photo shoot or a pagan publicity stunt. Will we need a dark night, a full moon, a compliant but brooding familiar? No. I have a white cat that would seriously attack me if I said, hey, want to participate in a magic ritual? I get all the cool stuff, wand, cup, pentacle, and the rest, and you get to sit on my shoulder and look like you'll kick some demon ass if they so much as look like they're going to get out of line. It would be a no-go. We don't need any of that because the secret identity ritual is not only easy and productive, it's fun. Remember, the most powerful magic in all the world is that of children energized by an adult intention. Wizards and sorcerers, witches, and fearsome spellcasters tremble before that type of action. And when children want to be empowered, they naturally create a secret identity. When a child wants to be brave, they imagine the most fearless character they know or create one of their own. To stand up to adversity and fear, boys and girls become supermen and superwomen. Children know that they aren't adults. They know that they aren't really superheroes. They know that the bully down the street can probably kick their ass. So what do? They do what all children do. They whip out their secret identities. I, of course, did the same. Confess, you did too. Let's get back to the now. We're adults. We're serious adults, for God's sakes. We're writers. How do you get more serious than that? A lovely young woman at a recent party I attended touched my hand and said, "Ooh, you're a writer. You must think a lot." Where was she when I was 18? Oh, yes. She was, if I remember correctly, with a football player who was begging her to write his term paper. Every writer is cursed with one person in all the world who is the biggest barrier to their writing. They are the towering, threatening, and undeniably repressive bully who dominates our intellectual schoolyard and makes us cower up against the fence for fear of our very health and lives. Every writer has one such person in their lives, just like we have an aunt that looks like she wants to put us in jail, or an uncle who tries to get us to drink and smoke, or the cousin who says, "Hey, you want to sneak out tonight?" They're there in every family or neighborhood tree in one form or the other, just like the bully who stops us from writing. The one person in the world who says we can't do it, that nobody's ever going to read what we write. Here's one such person that a romance writer told me about. She said that I wasn't good looking, so who cared what I thought about romance? She said that I had skinny lips, so who gave a damn about what I wrote about kissing? And that with my body, there should be a law that kept me from writing about romance anyway. It was like someone throwing acid in my face. I couldn't write for years. What an awful thing for anyone to say about any person. But to say such a things to yourself is absolutely devastating. You see, she was talking about herself. So I asked her later, "Why did you say those things to yourself?" "There was no one there to stop me," she said. You see, the schoolyard bully that threatens our writing is our very own selves. The human mind is a complicated affair with many various characters running around it for the most of our life with little supervision at all. When we decide to do something, when we really want to do something, when we want to write a story that will amaze and delight, wrench the emotion out of our readers like water dripping from a twisted cloth, who rises up to tell us we can't do it? Why, we ourselves bring forth the bully character, the criticizing character, the doubting character within who says, "You're going to do what? Give me a break. You're a nobody." Forget all the writing books you've ever read. If you have a modicum of talent, study the works of the great writers, the writers that you personally love and admire, and wrench over every detail of every technique from them to fan the flames of your own creativity into a blazing, burning bonfire of a story. You won't write it unless you take on and defeat that bully called your fears and doubts. No writing book in the world can help you with this. In order to defeat the bully that is yourself, you need to draw on the magic of children. And don't just nod your head at this point. Remember, the children, and oh, perish the thought, perhaps even talk to them. They are magicians par excellence, everyone. They slip between empowered identities faster than Madonna undresses. As writers, we sometimes need to don a secret identity to write. I advise you to study your mentors so deeply that you would know how they might act or think in any situation. You write their words, adopt their habits, think their thoughts. Really, I expect you to do these things if you wish to learn the lessons of Hemingway's chair. Because now, in a shocking, breathtaking act of childhood magic, I'm asking you to make that mentor your own secret identity. Ridiculous, you say? You want me to pretend I'm one of the Bronte sisters? You want me to pretend that I'm Edgar Rice Burroughs? Do I look like an idiot, you say? I'm an adult. I don't have time for childhood games. You think if I want to write like Edgar Rice Burroughs, I should pretend I'm Tarzan or Burroughs himself, or maybe both? Well, of course I do. Without a secret identity to don like Batman's mighty batsuit, how else do you expect to fight against your evil anti-writer self? Clark Kent unabashedly ran into phone booths and sacrificed his modesty to change clothes to wear his secret identity suit to fight the universe's greatest evils. So why are you complaining? Don't you know how to have fun anymore? It's fun to have a secret writing identity. I love pretending I'm Edgar Allan Poe. I've studied his habits, his history, his stories, and his love life. I know what he drank and how much he drank. What about you? Do you know what it is your favorite authors drink? How do they like to dress? How do they like their coffee? Did they like their coffee? I could go on and on, but the point is, if you really adopted them as a mentor, instead of just doing the basics like reading them and posturing that they were your mentors, really, we should just confess sometimes that we're too lazy or indolent to adopt mentors. But you should be able to act as though you are them. You should be able to don their persona as your secret identity. For my birthday, my son bought me a replica Hemingway coat after I explained to him my ideas on this. I was delighted. I use this coat as part of my Hemingway ritual. I begin the ritual by putting on this coat. The core of the ritual practice is that I actually imagine I am Ernest Hemingway, with all of his weaknesses, his prejudices, his strengths, and his great writing vision. I stand when I am writing in my secret identity of Ernest Hemingway. I have a tall table, and every time I begin the ritual, I repeat this magical indentation. Writing and travel broaden your ass, if not your mind, and I like to write standing up. Hey, that's what Hemingway said. But prior to this, I've enchanted the magical circle in which my tall writing table stands with the magical perfume of the coffee that Hemingway preferred. I throw away the last page of what I was working on the night before so I can begin fresh like Hemingway did. I have a book of correspondence between Fitzgerald and Hemingway, and I read them out loud. I gesticulate and amend these correspondences as though I wrote them myself. What I should have said, I say, because, you see, these ritual elements are to transform me into the man himself, the way I became Tarzan when I was a boy. That Tarzan secret identity helped me stand up to many a bully. My Hemingway secret identity, my Edgar Rice Burroughs and James Lee Burke's secret identities helped me to stand up to the most evil person the world has ever seen, the one inside me that sometimes escapes from its cell within the dungeons of my mind and tells me I can't write. Maybe you're too adult for the second lesson of Hemingway's chair. Maybe you're too old for a secret writing identity. You're an adult after all. You know you're not Kathy Lee Reich or Jonathan Kellerman or Tom Clancy or H.K. Rowling. You're not a kid anymore, and you're not going to play kid games. Too bad if you think that, because the most powerful magic in all the universe is when a child or an adult with the courage and laughter of a child as their companion dons a secret identity. As a writer, you won't always need to wear that secret identity costume. But when the feared, doubt villain arises its evil, vicious self and your story needs a superhero to protect it, go ahead, put on the mask and cape and rise victorious over your fears and doubts. Save the day for your story. Every story needs a hero to protect it. Great stories need superheroes. So that's all for today. Tune in next time for more of Write.